In this episode, I'm going to be talking about a topic which I developed, um, let's say, a year and a half ago. I hope you find it interesting, because I definitely did. Not to, dismiss your preferences, but I digress. The topic that I'm going to be talking about today is about what like to call the atomic theory of society. Sounds like a scary bunch of words put together, but here I'm gonna break it down for you. So, atomic, atom. I think if you've been through, the basic education system of wherever you are, you've at least heard of an atom um, in science. And I have the formal definition of that atom here. It's the smallest constituent unit of ordinary matter that has the properties of a chemical element. And atom comes from the root tomos, which means to cut. And of course, when you add an a in front of the root, it means not. So you cannot cut. It can't be divided, but of course, we know now that in science you can split it up into smaller parts, but we'll just assume that kind of technical definition for this kind of talk. And so, what do I mean by the atomic theory of society? Well, the way I explained it in how I wrote the article, because I wrote it in an article or an anthology that was published in my school, is that we can view humans, or the individual constituents of society, as sort of atoms, and they such that atoms bond to each other to form um, compounds, molecules that may be used for um, higher level functions, and better like utilization of like biochemical matter and the such. People can come together, form bonds and interpersonal relationships, and produce something good of that. So let's give an example. Let's say you're at work. Person Employee A goes to employee B and asks, hey, you want to help, you want to be together on that project that's due next week. Employee B acquiesces. So they go together, employee A and employee B. If in a normal kind of sense, work together, cooperate well, they form, their product will most likely be better, if not incredibly better, than what employee A or employee B could make on their own. And this is what I mean worth. A sodium ion and a chloride atom come together, form sodium chloride, and that becomes more useful in a sense than if they were separated. And this is how the atomic theory for me was put together. And so my second point will be on the usefulness and utility of relationships. When writing the article, I said that we can't limit this to just physical or tangible products, like a project or a structure that people build together, but we can try to understand relationships in the atomic theory, such that there are different kind of bonds, like a covalent bond is sharing atoms, or an ionic bond is the transfer of atoms. There are different kind of relationships. Some are more geared towards friendship. This a platonic friendship, understanding understanding each other in the kind of relationship. Of course, there are relationships that involve higher levels of love and understanding. Those form a different purpose that may satisfy a person in a way that a platonic relationship cannot satisfy. And there are different there are different bonds that constitute relationships. And so here is where I get to my third point, and it's the no man is an island kind of concept in the atomic theory. We understand that some atoms, because they're not balanced or follow this kind of octet rule, which they have to have 8 electrons in their valence shell or the outermost shell, they have to search for another atom so they can find stability. So they can find chemical stability. And so this is how the no man is an island concept fits into the atomic theory. I propose that people, maybe out of their loneliness, out of their despair, or out of simply just interest, they try to find relationships that may even validate their own self, find that stability that others also yearn to have. If I were to look at the periodic table of elements and try to digest what it, scientifically means, on the extreme right is what we call the noble gases, right? They have 8 atoms in their valence shell, and they're chemically stable. They're the noble gases. And so how can I understand this using the atomic theory of society? Maybe these gases and these elements, there are people who superficially we see to be quite stable. They're very socially accepted. They're maybe celebrities, prominent figures in our society. But this is quite extreme. This is not tenable in today's society. Nobody is absolutely and totally and positively a noble gas with its 8 electrons on its outer shell that's quite stable. Everybody's missing or has an abundance of electrons, of traits that we should share in order to find our stability. Because if we keep all of that, kind of emotion and, responsiveness inside of us, we're just going to fall apart. We're not going to find our place in society. We're not going to find, quote unquote, true happiness, whatever that may be for a singular person. We need to have this understanding that relationships, and even failed relationships, they're useful. Why do I say failed relationships are useful? Because they're useful in trying to ascertain your limits and what kind of bond you want. Platonic bond, a bond of love, a bond of kinship. What bond do you want to have in order to balance yourself in this, to find equilibrium in society? So what are my implications that I want to impart to you? Well, just know that the atomic theory of society is about finding relationships and the worth thereof. No man is an island, and that holds that will definitely be true in the atomic theory of society. And so, let us be open to have relationships. Let us not cut off other people, because essentially that's how we find stability in life. That may be a pathway for happiness, and it will just benefit the society, form better products. Remember, employee A and B. So thank you.